Hey everybody, welcome to the blue set review for Kaldheim. We are going to go through these cards. I'm here on Twitch, which is why you will see people chatting above me and interacting with the grades, assuming that Twitch didn't break the thing again, which I should take a brief look at. Twitch appears to have broken the thing again. This is obnoxious, Twitch. There we go. Now the heat map should be working again. As you've hopefully noticed in previous videos, I've changed the grade system. I think that letter grades are old and busted, and I think that pick grades are the way to go. Up first, we have Alruns, God of the Cosmos. Alruns, God of the Cosmos is 3 blue for a legendary creature god. At Mythic, it's a 1/1. Alruns does get +1/+1, though, for each card in your hand, and each foretold card you own in exile. Who knows how many you might have in exile. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Alruns is interesting because the later in the game you go, the less cards you have in hand. So Alruns probably not like an 8/8 here. Alruns probably like a 3/3 when he comes on in. And then at the beginning of your end step, you pick a card type. You're probably always going to pick creature, right? Like, unless you're digging for a very specific instant or sorcery or artifact, I don't think you're desperate for lands at this point. I think you're just always going to pick creature. Maybe you get to draw 1 or 2 cards, but maybe none. Who knows? Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a fine card on the front here. Let's take a look at the back. The back side is Hakka, Whispering Raven. Hakka, Whispering Raven is 1 and a blue for a legendary creature bird. It's a 2/3 flyer, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, return it to its owner's hand, and then scry 2. So 2/3 flyer for 3 in case, in case Alruns is a 1/1, and you don't want to play a 5-mana 1/1, you can play this, and it'll attack in for 2 every other turn, and then go back to your hand, and then scry 2, and then maybe one of those turns you recast it as Alruns or something. I think it's a fine card. I think it's got a lot of interesting choices here, and so it is ultimately a first pick. You're always going to pick it. You're always going to play it. I think it just has a lot of interesting play decisions, because there's going to be times where you really want to play Alruns. There's going to be times where you nigh on can't because you don't want to play a 5-mana 1/1, so you play the Raven, and the Raven gets to like peck and come back and peck and come back. There's a lot of interesting stuff here. I think it's a card that's going to be very fun to play with, and it's an easy first pick. Yeah. If it was just the front, it would be worse. If it was just the back, it would be worst, of course, but as is, I think it's an easy first pick. Up next is Alruns Epiphany. Alruns Epiphany is 5 blue for a sorcery at Mythic. Create 2 1/1 blue bird creature tokens with flying. Take an extra turn after this one. Exile Alruns Epiphany. Foretell 4 blue. Somebody is clicking F, and they're correct. It's an F. It's an F. Extra turn cards, when they cost 7 mana, are not extra turns, because you spend a turn casting this card. And then you get a second turn to do what you would actually do on your turn. This card's bad. It's overcosted, which they have to be these days because they're very abusable when they're not overcosted or when they don't exile themselves. Don't play this card. Don't pick this card. It's an F. It's not for limited. It's probably not even for constructed. It's an F. Up next is a null. A null is a single blue mana for an instant at common, counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Pick this up on the wheel. Pick this up really late. Put it in your sideboard. Do not main deck this. As we've talked about, yes, this is the artifact equipment set. Yes, this is the saga enchantment set. No, most of them are not any good, except for the sagas. Now, when you find out that your opponent is playing a good artifact, is playing a good saga, is playing a good enchantment, bring it in. It's going to be great. This is why we play best of 3. Bring it in out of that sideboard, and it's going to be great. But do not spend a real pick on this. Pick it up on the wheel. Up next is Ascendant Spirit. Ascendant Spirit is a single blue mana for a snow creature spirit at rare. It's a 1/1. Pay snow. Ascendant Spirit becomes a spirit warrior with based power and toughness 2/3. Hey, snow. If Ascendant Spirit is a warrior, put a flying counter on it. It becomes a spirit warrior angel with base power and toughness 4/4. It becomes a Sarah angel. No, it doesn't have vigilance. Haha, It's not a Serra Angel. It's just very close. And then finally, Snow. If Ascendant Spirit is an angel, put 2+1/+1 counters on it, and it gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So this is the same thing as that old red-white spirit that I can't remember the name of. I think it was a Kithkin that became a spirit warrior or something. This card's very good. Assuming you have the snow to pay for it. How do snow lands work in Limited? You do have to draft them, yes. They will be in the basic land slot, but you must draft them to play them. So this card's very good, a Figure of Destiny, assuming that you have snow sources. So it's first pickable, and then you're going to pick your snow lands way higher than you would have otherwise. And it's going to be great. It's a 1/1 for 1 that demands an answer, because maybe, hopefully next turn, it's going to become a 2/3. And then it probably won't be long until it becomes a 4/4 flyer. And then it's going to become a 6/6 flyer that has the Ophidian of text on it, and you can stack them. This card's great. It's an easy first pick. Just make sure you get the snow, and if you don't, cut it. Up next is Augury Raven. Augury Raven is 3 and a blue for a creature bird at common. It's a 3/3 with flying. Foretell for 1 and a blue. It's better than a Snapping Drake. It's a 3/3 flyer instead of a 3/2 flyer. And you can foretell it for only 2 mana, so perhaps you could even bring this down on turn 3. Very good, very nice flyer. Not a super high pick. This is like 6th through 8th, I think. But I'm happy to play every one of these in every blue deck I play. So 6th through 8th, I think it maybe even sneaks into 4th or 5th. A very solid card here. Up next is Avalanche Collar. Avalanche Collar is 1 and a blue for a snow creature human wizard. On common, it's a 1/3. Pay 2. Target snow land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature with hexproof and haste until end of turn. It's still a land. If you're snow, if you're like blue-green snow, or I guess there's a little bit of white snow, but if you're blue-green snow, or if you're heavy on snow, this is a very good card. 2 mana 1/3 is okay, like stats and cost. It doesn't tap, meaning that you can pay 4 to make 2 4/4s. Of course, the more mana you're paying, the less likely you are to have snow lands left to turn into creatures, but perhaps in the late game. But 4/4s are very real, and having hexproof is nice because it means that you're not, opening them up to removal that much. I think this card's quite good. I think it's upwards of 2nd, 3rd pick. Again, you have to get the snow land, so you're going to need to immediately bump those up your pick order list. But I think I would like to pick this up pretty highly and then go into it. Just be aware, again, like the Spirit, if you don't get there on snow, bail out. Get rid of this card. Find a new path. But I'm going to pick this pretty highly and get into snow with it. Up next is Behold the Multiverse. Behold the Multiverse is 3 and a blue for an instant at common. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards. Foretell for 1 and a blue. This card's great. This card's great, and it's because of this little word here right in the middle. Instant Speed. Instant Speed, 4 mana, draw 2 cards, scry 2 is pretty dang good. Unless this format is the fastest format we've ever seen in our lives, this card's pretty good. And being able to foretell it for only 2 mana is pretty nice as well. You can keep up your counter spells, although there aren't many good ones in this set. You can keep up your bounce spells, you can keep up your other interaction that you might do, and then when you don't need to use it, you get to draw 2 cards. Scry 2 beforehand. I think this card's good. I think this card's going to be set dependent, whether this is 4th or 5th or 6th through 8th, but I don't think you leave this for the wheel. I don't think you leave it for the wheel. I think it's a pretty dang good card, and a lot of people are going to discover the power of instant speed draw. Up next is Bergstrider. Bergstrider is 4 and a blue for a snow creature giant wizard at common. It's a 4/4. When Bergstrider enters the battlefield, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls. If snow was spent to cast this spell, that permanent doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So it's like Chillbringer, except it doesn't fly, which makes it worse than Chillbringer. It's a giant, which is going to be relevant for the blue-red decks. I think this card does live on the wheel, and I think the decks that want one of them probably pick it up. The blue-red giant deck is going to be happy with this. The blue-green snow deck might be happy with this. It has places. I think it's really kind of a card that you're going to play one copy of. I think it does go on the wheel, though. I don't think you have to spend a real pick for this. Up next is Bind the Monster. Bind the Monster is a single blue mana for an enchantment aura at common. Enchant creature. When Bind the Monster enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. It deals damage to you equal to its power. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. It's bubble, snare, claustrophobia, etc., whatever you want to call this card, except it deals damage to you equal to the creature's power. That's fine. That's fine. People are going to underrate this card, just like they underrated Feed the Swarm. The first of these is great. The first of these is absolutely great in your deck. You got a 6/6 that's terrifying and is a problem? Take 6 and remove it. Just like Feed the Swarm does. Now, this has the downside of being, disenchanted and whatnot, so it's not as good as Feed the Swarm, and it's not a first pick, and I don't think it's a second or third pick either. I think this is around 4th or 5th for the first one, and I don't think you take the second one unless you have a great life gain plan. But yeah, 4th or 5th pick for the first one. Maybe don't load up on these, though, because you don't have that much life. Life is a resource, but life goes away somewhat quickly. Up next is Brine Barrow Intruder. Brine Barrow Intruder is a single blue mana for a creature human rogue at common. It's a 1/2 flash. When Brine Barrow Intruder enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn. It's like Zulaport Duelist or Fairy Duelist or etc. But not great. You can pick this up on the wheel. It's a 1/2. Like, it's not going to kill anything except for X1s. -2/-0 is a cute little trick. It doesn't cost much. It's a rogue, which is not applicable to this set. There's not much going on here. You can get these on the wheel for sure. For sure. Next up is Kosema, God of the Voyage. Kosema, God of the Voyage is 2 and a blue for a legendary creature god at rare. It's a 2/4. And it does something. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile Kosema. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Kosema is exiled, you may put a Voyage counter on it. If you don't, return Kosema to the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it and draw X cards where X is the number of Voyage counters on it. So you play your 2/4 for 3, and then next turn you go, oh no, just kidding, she's going on a Voyage. And you remove your 2/4 that you paid for 3. And then some number of turns later, after playing lands, you return her, and she's big and draws some cards. I don't think I want to do that. Like, this feels like a commandery thing where, like, you do this and, you lose some aggro because, hey, you just took away a creature off of your board. And then, like, you're only getting 1 counter on this a turn at best, and some turns you won't get a counter on it because you miss your land drop. She doesn't have to go away, sure, but are you playing a 2/4 for 3? I don't think I'm playing a 2/4 for 3. Like, maybe as a filler card. But then when she does come back, you get to draw some cards, and she's big. So it's interesting. And I think I would play it. She's an awful top deck. Like, you play this on turn 3. Or sorry, you play this on turn 7 or 8 or whatever. Like, how many more lands are you going to play? Like, I guess you would return her after you play, like, 1 land? Maybe 2 lands? And just be like, all right, well, she drew a card. I don't know. I'm not sold on the front half. The back half... the back half is the Omen Keel. The Omen Keel is 1 and a white, or 1 and a blue for a legendary artifact vehicle. It's a 3/3. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of the library. You may play lands. I didn't read that word. I just assumed what the rest of this card said. You may play lands from among those cards as long as they remain exiled. Crew 1. All right, so Crew 1, is, as I talked about, where you want to be to make vehicles good, unless they're utterly broken somehow. Crew 1, 3/3 vehicle is pretty nice. When it hits them, you exile cards off the top of their deck. I thought this was, you know, the card, the 1 blue-black spirit that when it hits them, you can take cards and cast them. This only gets lands off the top of their deck, so it's not as good as I had originally hoped. But, you know, it's still a fine vehicle. I think I'm actually playing the vehicle more than I'm playing Kosema here. I think I'm first picking Kosema. So as much as I talk down Kosema, I'm first picking her. But I think I'm honestly playing the Omen Keel more often than I'm playing her. I think Thief of Night. I think she's just so much slower than I want to be. I think this would have to be the slowest set ever for her ability to actually be something super duper good. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe taking her on a 1-turn Voyage is good enough, or like a 2-turn Voyage. But I think I think it's too slow to like really get too much value off of it. So first pick for this, even though I think she's not incredible, but you're never ever not playing this card. And I think I'm going to play the Omen Keel a little bit more often. Up next is Cosmos Charger. Cosmos Charger is 3 and a blue for a creature Horse Spirit at rare. It's a 3/3 flash flyer. Foretelling cards from your hand costs 1 less and can be done on any player's turn. Foretell for 2 and a blue. 3/3 flash flyer for 4. Sold. Absolutely sold. Getting to foretell my cards at instant speed is really nice. Getting to foretell them for 1 is really nice. The fact that I could foretell this card is very nice. It's an easy first pick. This card's great. Easy first pick. I'm taking this over premium removal. Up next is Cyclone Summoner. Cyclone Summoner is 5 blue for a creature giant wizard at rare. It's a 7/7. When Cyclone Summoner enters the battlefield, you cast it. If you cast it from your hand, return all permanents to their owner's hand, except for giants, wizards, and lands. 7 mana is a tall ask. It's a tall ask, unless you're playing, you know, something kind of rampy and green. But this does appear to want to be more in the blue-red giant wizards deck. I don't think this card's great. It's incredibly expensive for what it does. But if you cast it, and as long as things are, you know, situated properly where you're not playing against a mirror giant wizards deck, is pretty good. But game 1, when you play against a mirror match of red-blue giant wizards, this card's going to suck. It's a vanilla 7/7. So I don't know where I'm putting this card. I think I'm putting this card like 4th or 5th pick. And I think you have to be ready to like maybe side it out against a mirror match. And I think it may just be too expensive for the deck that wants it. So I'm not sold on this deck or on this card. I think this might be the card that is like, hey, new players, look at that big number down there. Look at that big number down there. Draft this card, play this card. And then the newer players will learn that big numbers down here don't necessarily make the card amazing. So let's go 4th, 5th pick. And I think there's a very realistic situation that this is an F. Next card. Up next is Depart the Realm. Depart the Realm is 1 and a blue for an instant at common. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Foretell for a single blue. First pick. First pick. It's not actually a first pick. But I love bounce. This is unsummon. It's unsummon for 2, which is perfectly fine. If you foretell it, it's unsummon for 1. Bounce at common. I love it. I love it. This is why I think the enchantment and or the aura and equipment decks are utterly boned. Is that you have this card at common. This card is going to ruin the Sarah Angel tokens deck. This card's going to be amazing. This card will probably be my most drafted card. 2nd to 3rd pick for me. Realistically, it's probably like 4th or 5th, but 2nd to 3rd for me. Up next is Disdainful Stroke. 1 and a blue for an instant common. Counter target spell with converted mana cost 4 or greater. Disdainful Stroke is always kind of okay-ish as a 1 of until you end up going against like a red-white 2-drop get 'em aggro deck. But you can get this on the wheel. There's no way you should be spending one of your first 8 picks for this. Pick it up on the wheel, maybe main deck one of them, but if you don't have a spot, it is utterly okay to put it into the sideboard. Utterly okay. Is anyone going to be doing anything other than foretelling on turn 2? Honestly, for the first week of the format, I will probably be playing a creature on turn 2 and murdering fools who are foretelling too much. And then it'll calm down a little bit. Up next is Draugr Thought Thief. Draugr Thought Thief is 2 and a blue for a creature zombie rogue at common. It's a 3/2 when Draugr Thought Thief enters the battlefield. Look at the top card of target player's library. You may put that card into their graveyard. So it's a 3/2 for 3, which is pretty filler. And then if you want, you can look at your card and mill it if you would like, if that's a grand scheme that you're doing. Or you could look at your opponent's deck and be like, oh, don't want that happening, and throw that away. It's a very filler card. You can pick this up on the wheel for sure. And some decks will want it and some decks will not. I actually don't know how it's pronounced. Is it pronounced Draugr? Let's find that out. Because this was from Skyrim, right? And I assume therefore is an Old Norse thing. The Old Norse pronunciation would have been Draugr, where the first syllable rhymes with now, sounds more like Draugr, rolling the R's. Draugr. Draugr. How do you roll that second R? Draugr. Draugr Thought Thief. Draugr. It's pronounced that. Draugr. Drago. Drago Thought Thief. Drago Thought Thief. Up next is Frost Auger. Auger. Frost Auger is a single blue mana for a snow creature, human wizard at uncommon. It's a 1/2. Pay a snow tap. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a snow card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. Yeah, are you playing the blue-green snow deck? This card's pretty good. This card's mildly good. Did we get a rating on Thought Thief? Yeah, you can wheel this card for sure. Easy wheel. So Frost Auger, it's a 1/2 for 1, which is not amazing. It's not amazing. But being able to pay snow just to be like, huh, what's coming up? Hey, opponent, look, it's in my hand now, is kind of a cool little bonus. If you are not in a snow deck, you do not play this card. I think realistically, this card's around like 4th, 5th. And again, like a lot of these snow cards, you need to pretty quickly figure out if you are in fact in that deck. And if you're not, you need to ditch it. You need to ditch it real fast. But yeah, I think 4th, 5th is where I'm going to be happy with Frost Auger for now. Up next is Frostpeak Yeti. Frostpeak Yeti is 3 and a blue for a snow creature, Yeti at common. It's a 3/3, pay 1 and a snow. It can't be blocked this turn. Again, if you're in the snow deck, an unblockable hill giant is pretty good. It's pretty good. If you are not, it's a hill giant. And a hill giant's not that good. I think you can probably pick this up on the wheel, like unless there's like 3 or 4 people drafting snow at the table, which means that maybe one of you shouldn't be drafting snow, you should probably be able to wheel this card. So I'm going to put this to wheel. Maybe it's like 6th to 8th pick, but I'll put Frostpeak Yeti on wheel to start. Up next is Frostpyre Arcanist. Frostpyre Arcanist is 4 and a blue for a creature, giant wizard at uncommon. It's a 2/5. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a giant or a wizard. When Frostpyre Arcanist enters the battlefield, search your library for an instant or sorcery card with the same name as a card in your graveyard. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. That paragraph is probably pretty flavor texty. I don't think you can consistently rely on that second paragraph happening because A, you're going to want to have multiple copies of a spell or multiple spells that you have multiple copies of. And you're going to need to have already drawn one of them and cast them and not draw the rest of them. Now it is a 2/5 for 5 or perhaps for 4, and it's a giant wizard, and these are relevant things. But they're relevant things for one deck. So the one deck that wants this, I think, can wheel it. So I'm going to put Frostpyre Arcanist on the wheel. One deck's going to want it, and no other decks are going to touch it. So wheel your Frostpyre Arcanist. Up next is Giant's Amulet. Giant's Amulet is a single blue mana for an artifact equipment at uncommon. When Giant's Amulet enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 blue. If you do, create a 4/4 blue giant wizard creature token, then attach Giant's Amulet to it. Equipped creature gets +0/+1 and this creature has hexproof as long as it's untapped. Equip cost of 2. I'm never playing this for blue. It's awful playing it for blue. 3 blue, I can get a 4/5 hexproof giant that if it dies, I still happen to have Giant's Amulet kicking around. I don't really like this card. I think, again, if the giant wizard deck is really looking for wizards or giants or both, you'll play this card and be happy with it as a 3 blue card. But I think you should be able to get this on the wheel. The equipment itself is just not good. It reminds me of Mask of Avacyn, which was not very good. But Mask of Avacyn just gave hexproof. You didn't have to, keep the creature untapped to keep the hexproof. So I think this card's, a bit of a trap card. I think it's going to trip up some newer players a little bit. I'm going to leave this to the wheel specifically for the blue-green Giant Wizards deck. And otherwise, I don't think I'm really going to play it. Up next is Glimpse the Cosmos. Glimpse the Cosmos is 1 and a blue for a sorcery at uncommon. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 1 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. It's Anticipate, although sorcery speed. As long as you control a giant, you may cast Glimpse the Cosmos from your graveyard by paying blue, rather than paying its mana cost. If you cast Glimpse the Cosmos this way and it would put in the graveyard, exile it instead. This card's amazing for the blue-red Giant Wizards deck. It is 2 copies of Anticipate at sorcery speed. Like, this isn't winning a game or anything. It's not a bomb, but this is good. This is, look at the top 6 cards of your library and draw 2 over the course of a couple of turns. And yes, it does cast 2 spells. So if you just play white, black, blue, haha, who we got there. I like this card quite a bit. I'm going to 4th-5th pick this card and try to get into Giant Wizards. If you don't have Giants, this is just sorcery speed Anticipate, so don't just put this in every blue deck that you have, although it is 23rd cardish in every blue deck that you have. But assuming you do have Giants, getting a second copy of this from the graveyard is very, very, very nice. So I'm going to go 4th-5th pick on this and feel pretty dang good with it. Semulin, thank you very much for that raid. Welcome, folks. We are in the middle of the set review for Kaldheim. We have done gold, artifacts, lands, white, and we are just about finishing up blue here. We are using a very similar pick grade to what Semulin and I did last time, and what I assume Semulin and Nicerock will be doing tomorrow, with 1st pick, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th through 8th wheel. And I can't quite give up letter grades because I really like my F grade. So I kept the F grade on. Thanks for coming on over. I'm the Manalik. I do limited content. Most of you know who I am. We do Stream Raiders. A battle's about to go. And for anybody who doesn't know Semulin, go check out Semulin's stream tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern for another set review with Semulin and Icerock. Up next is Graven Lore. Graven Lore is 3 blue for a snow instant at rare Scry X, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast this spell. Then draw 3 cards. Show me some grades. For those who just came in, you can click on the screen to influence the heat map to show what you believe the grade should be. If Twitch would stop replacing my extension, now you can click to show what the grade would be. Seeing a lot of 6th through 8th, seeing some Fs. 5 mana instant speed, draw 3, unless the format is incredibly aggressive, is great. Is absolutely great. I think it was called Jace's Ingenuity, I think. And the fact that if we spent some snow on this, we get to scry first is great. I'm 1st picking this card. I'm 1st picking this card. Am I 1st picking this card? Am I taking this over premium removal? I am 2nd or 3rd picking this card. I am second or third picking this card. 5 mana, instant speed, draw 3 cards is amazing. And if I do get the scries, that's really good as well. If you have not played much limited with instant speed draw effects, you're going to learn just how good they are. There's a very good reason that this card is rare and not anything else. So second, third pick for Graven lore. Let's take a very brief break to get that Stream Raiders battle going before we finish up blue. I'm not first picking this. If there's no premium removal in the pack, I'm absolutely first picking it. Do you have to tap snow mana to cast it? No, you do not. You do not. Was it Opportunity? Was Opportunity 3? I think Opportunity was 4, right? Yeah, Opportunity was instant speed, 6 mana, draw 4. Jace's Ingenuity. Jace's Ingenuity was draw 3 for 5 at instant speed, and it was very good. Now, again, if the format is ludicrously aggressive, which I don't think it is, maybe it's too slow. I got the most kills somehow. Oh, because I put down a good one. Thangarth with the most assists, 5 gold to everybody. Peppermint with a barbarian. Biandria with 3 flag bearers. Jailora with 3 flag bearers. Let's move on to a treasure chest. Get y'all some gold here. Pop down your units every 5 minutes. We'll get back to that battle. Let's put down a Semulan Archer in honor of Semulan's raid. And let's get back to Icebind Pillar. Icebind Pillar is 2 and a blue. We should hop on over to the set review thing. We have not seen Run Ashore yet. Icebind Pillar is 2 and a blue for a snow artifact at uncommon. Pay a snow tap target artifact or creature. It is the iciest of icy manipulators. This card's amazing as long as you have snowlands. You know, if you don't have snow mana, you don't play this card. But if you have snow mana, this card is Icy Manipulator, except it costs 3 mana instead of 4. Better than Icy? No, because you could just get ruined and not end up with snowlands. Like maybe all of your neighbors are like, haha, this is the snow set. I'm also blue-green snow. And you're like, but I took all the cards for it. And they're like, haha, look at all these snowlands I got. So I don't think it's better than Icy, but I think it's very on par. It's a fantastic card. You're going to pick this incredibly highly. Second, third pick, I think you take premium removal. You take a bomb over it for sure. And maybe you take premium removal over it. Maybe. But I think the upside is just so high on here, with the slight problem that maybe you just get pushed out of, you know, having any access to snow mana. So Icebind Pillar, very good, second to third pick. Up next is Icebreaker Kraken. Icebreaker Kraken is 10 blue for a snow creature Kraken at rare. It's an 8/8. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each snow land you control. When Icebreaker Kraken enters the battlefield, artifacts and creatures target opponent controls don't untap that during that player's next untap step. It sleeps. Return 3 snowlands you control to their owner's hand. Return Icebreaker Kraken to its owner's hand. Whole lot of F's coming in for this, and that is not correct. That is powerfully not correct. This is, I do believe, a first pick card. I'm pretty sure it's a first pick card. Now, as we've talked about with a number of these blue cards, is we first pick this card and suddenly every snowland goes from being like 6th to 8th pick to like 2nd to 4th pick. We now need to take snowlands. And we need to make a decision, you know, around like early pack 2, if we're like, uh-oh, get out. We're not playing the Icebreaker Kraken. It's going to cost 12 mana and it's going to be awful. So yes, if this costs 12 mana, it's awful. But if this costs 6, 7, this card's amazing. Y'all played Kiora Best the Sea God, right? This is Kiora Best's the Sea God on a different plane. It sleeps everything. It's an 8/8. And you had the snowlands to cast this because you didn't pay 12 for this. So you can save it if your opponent tries to remove it. I think it's an easy first pick. You do just have to change it doesn't have hexproof, but it has return ability. It's not as good as Kiora Best the Sea God. But I think you first pick it. I think you modify how you're drafting. And I think you become aware of the need to potentially get the heck out. Up next is Inga Rune Eyes. Their stuff has to be tapped. Oh, it doesn't tap them. It doesn't tap them? Oh, it doesn't sleep. It's not sleep. It's not sleep. Uh-oh. 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 It's not sleep. Why is it not sleep? Uh-oh. Why is it not sleep? I'm still first picking it. And I'm still trying to get into the snow deck. But it's not as good as I was talking about. It's not sleep. Now it's just fine. And perhaps I bail on it earlier if I'm not getting snowlands quickly. Up next is Inga Rune Eyes. Inga Rune Eyes is 3 and a blue for a legendary creature, human wizard at uncommon. It's a 3/3 when Inga Rune Eyes enters the battlefield. Scry 3. When Inga Rune Eyes dies, draw 3 cards if 3 or more creatures died this turn. So this is like Cascade Seer, right? So Cascade Seer I didn't really like. It was filler. It was fine. But I didn't really like it because it was frequently a 3/3 for 4 that scryed 1. Maybe it scryed 2. Yeah, if you were in like the blue-white party deck and you were really lucky, it scryed 3 or maybe 4. This one always scries 3. It's pretty decent. The second clause, I don't think is happening. But if it does, drawing 3 is great. I like an Ancestral Recall for no reason. But I don't think that second part is happening that much. So it's a 3/3 for 4 that scries 3, which is fine. It's like 6th to 8th pick, maybe on the wheel. It's around there. It's not something you're going really hard on. What is wheel? Wheel is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You're not using a real pick on it. You are grabbing it when it comes back around. You are looking at that card and making a decision to not pick it because you believe that it will come back to you. So yeah, I'm on like 6th to 8th pick through this. I really like Scry 3 on this all the time, but I don't think it's an amazing card. Up next is Carfell Harbinger. Carfell Harbinger is 1 and a blue for a creature zombie wizard. At common, it's a 1/3 tap to add a blue. Spend this mana only to foretell a card from your hand or cast an instant or sorcery spell, which may be a foretell instant or sorcery from exile. This is Bloppity Bloop Arcanist. Something Arcanist from Dominaria. I think it was in a core set as well. It's a 1/3 for 2 that gives you a blue, which is better than the Arcanist because it gave you a colorless. This actually gives you a blue. It's not a high pick. You know, this is definitely like a 6th through 8th kind of pick. But if you're Vedalken Arcanist. But if you're looking to cast instants or sorcery spells, perhaps you are a blue-red giant wizard spell deck. Perhaps you are a blue-white foretell deck. There are Vodalian, not Vedalken. It was a merfolk. Yeah, not a Vedalken. Vedalken's a different species. This is a card that you want. Don't undervalue it, but also don't overvalue it. You're looking 6th to 8th pick for this, and there's a chance that you might even wheel these with some regularity. But I'm going to be pretty happy with them in a lot of my decks, as long as I'm casting instants and sorceries. If you're like some sort of super aggro, mostly creatures deck, whatever. It's also a zombie wizard, which is relevant for like a bunch of different archetypes there. We're looking at blue-black, we're looking at blue-red. Anyways, up next is Lithiara Kinseekers. Lithiara Kinseekers is 3 and a blue for a creature shapeshifter at common. It's a 2/4 changeling. When Lithiara Kinseekers enters the battlefield, if you control 3 or more creatures that share a creature type, put a +1/+1 counter on Lithiara Kinseekers, then scry 1. 4 mana 2/4. Do you always scry 1? If you control, put on. Do you always scry 1? If you control 3 or more, put a counter on it, then scry 1. Now, is that then scry 1 part of the if you control? I think it is. I think it is. So it's a 2/4 for 4 that does nothing, but you need 2 other creatures that share a creature type. This is pretty filler. Because if we get there, it's a 4/5 or a 3/5 for 4 that scries 1. That's not that exciting. I think you pick this up on the wheel. I think you pick it up on the wheel, and if you're the Changeling deck, and we took a look at Changeling briefly, there's honestly not... I don't know there's enough Changeling for there to be a Changeling deck. But it definitely helps out with filling in the gaps of the tribal decks. So I'm going to put this on the wheel. I don't think it's that important. I don't think you'll miss it exactly. And I think if you're a deck that wants it, you can get it when it comes back around. Up next is Mists of Lithiara. Mists of Lithiara is 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura at common. Flash, enchant creature or vehicle. Enchanted creature gets -3/-0. People always underrate this style of effect. It's actually pretty okay. It's a lot better when it's -13/-0. -3/-0 is not quite as good, but we played Slimebind, right? Slimebind was -3/-0, I think. In fact, is this literally just Slimebind, except it can hit a vehicle? No, Slimebind was -4/-0. So -3/-0 is not a huge downgrade, but it can be enough. So I'm pretty happy playing one of these. I'm not going to pick it too super highly. I think realistically you can probably get it on the wheel. 6th through 8th pick is also fine here. Just don't pick it too highly, but don't underrate this either. It is a crappy version of removal, but not the worst versions of removal. It's okay to play this. Up next is Mistwalker. Mistwalker is 2 and a blue for a creature shapeshifter at common. It's a 1/4 changeling. It's got flying. Pay 1 and a blue. Mistwalker gets +1/-1 until end of turn. So you've got yourself a 3-mana 1/4 flyer that could be a 2/3 flyer or could be a 3/1 flyer. This card's pretty good. It's going to help out your tribal synergies. It's going to block real well. 1/4 flyer, solid blocker. You got some mana kicking around. They don't have a flyer. Get in for 2. Get in for 3. This card has versatility on it. I think it's pretty good. I think it's around the 6th through 8th pick. I think there's a lot of other cards you're going to be picking over this, but I'm pretty happy with one or maybe even multiples of this in every blue deck, I think. So I'm going to go 6th through 8th for Mistwalker. I think it's solid, but yeah, no but just solid. 6th through 8th. Up next is Mystic Reflection. Mystic Reflection is 1 and a blue for an instant at rare. Choose target non-legendary creature. Not that you control. The next time 1 or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. So I've talked a couple of times, I don't like clones that only clone your own things. This is a clone that doesn't have that restriction. It can clone your opponent's thing. So you're behind, they have an amazing thing, you can get an amazing thing, but it's not a clone. Because it doesn't clone. You do have to have another creature, but it can be any creature. You could have a 1-drop. Pay 1 and a blue, Mystic Reflection, play your 1-drop, boom, clone. It's removal too? Explain. Can downgrade opponent creature spell too. Choose target non-legendary creature. The next time 1 or more creature or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn. Oh. Interesting. 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 Huh. That's kind of cute. I don't know that That's pretty cute. I don't know that I super want that to be something that I'm doing on the regular, but that is definitely useful. That is definitely useful. But yeah, this card's first pick. I think it's great. I think I am generally going to want to be cloning something for me to have. I would like to establish my board. But yeah, that's a cool little use case that I don't think I would have noticed if I had not thought it through and or had chat here. But yeah, first pick, great card. Up next is Orvar the All-Form. Orvar is 3 and a blue for a legendary creature shapeshifter. At Mythic, it's a 3/3 changeling. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. Whenever a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, create a token that's a copy of target permanent. Yeah, it's good. It's first pick, obviously. Shockingly, mythics are first picks. So whenever an instant or sorcery spell targets one or more of your permanents, don't make your deck worse. Don't jam your deck full of combat tricks just because you have this card. I would almost... What instant sorceries are you targeting your own stuff with? You don't have... Oh, no, it is whenever you cast. Oh, it's not even on removal. It's not even on removal. Also, runes aren't instant sorceries. They're enchantments. For a second here, I thought that maybe this was opponents casting spells on your stuff too, but it's only when you cast an instant or sorcery spell, something that targets one of your... Yeah. Maybe this isn't a first pick. Because this is just combat tricks, right? Like, you are certainly not casting like a burn spell on one of your creatures that doesn't die just to be like, haha, you're using your burn spell on their stuff. This does read better than it plays, I think. It's a hill giant changeling, so I think it still has like filler status at the absolute worst. You can mind rot it away. Bounce, I still would rather bounce my opponent's stuff. This is definitely more for constructed commander. And the thing here is, like, we're talking about how this card is not bonkers, but it's a hill giant with changeling at worst. So, like, at worst, we're looking at wheel. It's not an F. I think realistically, I'm putting this around like 6th through 8th pick, but you have to first pick it to find it. But I am not putting a whole bunch of combat tricks in my deck because of this one card. Because if I don't draw this one card, I have a deck that is a bunch of combat tricks. And that's not going to do it. Have we seen a single blue spell you'd want to cast on your own creatures? The bounce spell, which I don't want to cast on my own creature most of the time. Your answer is no. Your answer is no. We have not seen a blue card, a blue instant or sorcery that we want to cast on one of our own creatures. Is the final line ever coming up? Only if they mind draw you. Yeah, I think this is probably around a 6th to 8th pick and not nearly as good as you think, and everybody's going to first pick it, so you're never going to see it. Up next is Pilfering Hawk. Pilfering Hawk is 1 and a blue for a snow creature bird at common. It's a 1/2 flyer. Pay a snow and tap. Draw a card. Discard a card. Awesome. OP is never mind rotting with this in play. It's not in play. When a spell or ability causes an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, create a token that's a copy of target permanent instead. So when you have Orvar in your hand and they make you discard a card and you discard Orvar, then you get to copy something. So they don't know it's going to happen. So Pilfering Hawk is a looter. It's a flying looter. It's a 2-mana looter. You need to have snow. But I mean, have snow. Looting is great. Looting is always great. Looting is sometimes underrated. Looting is great. This card's like, it's not 2nd or 3rd pick, but I think it is 4th to 5th pick. I love this card. I'm going to draft this card a whole lot. I think I'm going to be blue-green snow a lot. And not because, haha, snow. Because I can have this looter and because I can have the bounce spell. That's why I'm going to draft blue a lot. But yeah, Pilfering Hawk is great. It's a 4th, 5th pick. Love this card. Don't underrate looters. Up next is Raven Form. Raven Form is 2 and a blue for a sorcery with, it's a common. It's got Foretell. Exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 bird, 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. You could foretell it for a single blue mana. Hard removal in blue. What a world. What a world. This card's great. Yes, it leaves them with a 1/1 blue bird. No, I don't care. I don't remotely care. A 1/1 blue bird flyer is going to be better than whatever I'm casting this on, guaranteed. It could be the scariest card in the set, and boop, it's gone. It's a bird. First pick, great removal. Yes, it leaves them with a 1/1, and that means that it's technically not removal, but it's great first pick. Up next is Reflections of Lithiara. Reflections of Lithiara is 4 and a blue for an enchantment, rare. As Reflections of Lithiara enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell. Nope. Nope. Do not want. This is a trap. This is a trap. This is an F. This is a trap. It's a 5 mana enchantment that does not do anything until some point in the future, at which point you cast a creature type of the chosen type, and then you get a copy. I'm never playing this card. It's an F. If you want to have some fun late in the format, pick it on up. You should be able to get it on the wheel at that point, but I am on an F for Reflections of Lithiara. Run Ashore is up next. Run Ashore is 4 blue for an instant at common. Choose one or both. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it on the top or bottom of their library. They're going to choose the top. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. 6 mana, instant speed, Griptide, end on summon. It's real expensive. But it gets 2 things out of the way, and this is exactly the kind of tempo stuff that I tend to like to play. It's real expensive. I think it's probably on the 6th to 8th pick range. I think people are not going to be picking this early, but I think I do want to spend a real pick on the first one. I don't play like 2 or 3 or 4 of these. But yeah, I think this looks pretty good. It reminds me of various multi-bounce cards that we've had in the past. Sea God's Revenge, although Sea God's Revenge was better than this one. Being instant, though, is very, very nice here. You can do it end of their turn and open yourself up for a real good attack the following turn. But this is a tempo card play. Not everybody plays tempo. I do like tempo quite a bit, though. So 6th to 8th pick for Run Ashore. Up next is Rune of Flight. Rune of Flight is 1 and a blue for an enchantment or a rune at uncommon. Enchant permanent. When Rune of Flight enters the battlefield, draw a card. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it has flying. As long as enchanted permanent is an equipment, it has equipped creature has flying. Again, I want power and toughness boosts on these. I don't think I want to spend a card slot in my deck for this card. It replaces itself. That doesn't make cards better. Now, flying is significantly better than lifelink, the lifelink, the one that we saw. So I think you pick this up on the wheel, and I don't think it goes in a lot of decks. I think it's very 23rd cardy. Maybe you play it kind of like a kite sail. You have some real big green fatties or something. And so you pop this in because you're like, haha, I'm going to make this 6/6 fly. But I think you can pick these up when you want them. Put it on the wheel. I think the runes are just bad. I think they're a giant miss. Wasn't this basically the thing Amonkhet? Amonkhet was cartouche, and it gave +1/+1. And that was significantly better. Can you attach it to a land? You can attach it to a land. You can attach it to any permanent. It just doesn't do anything. I guess it draws a card. But yeah, it's definitely not One with the Wind. Whew. Compare that card to One with the Wind. Saw It Coming is up next. Saw It Coming is 1 blue for an instant at uncommon. Counter target spell, foretell 1 and a blue. This is the cancel of the format. It's cancel plus the set mechanic. Wheel. Well, is it on the wheel? Maybe not. Maybe. That is just a better counter spell on the foretell. Is this a counterspell I'm going to play? I don't like the cancel side of it. I like the 1 and the blue side of it. Did I like neutralize? Neutralize is better than this card. Neutralize is a lot better than this card. Neutralize I would have put as like a 4th, 5th pick. This card I think is 6th, 8th. Yeah, the idea of the onboard mystery counterspell is very nice. I think that's pretty cool. There are payoffs for foretelling, sort of, although we've seen none in blue so far, have we? And did we see any in white? Or is it literally just the bird? The blue-white bird. The first god, the horse. Alrund. How does Alrund help with foretelling? Alrund was +1/+1 for cards in your hand. Or was it cards in hand and or in exile? Let's go back to Alrund. This video is getting a little bit long because I'm looking at chat a little bit more than I should be for these videos. But that's the fun part, right? And each foretold card you own in exile. But that's a pretty bad payoff. Like, I'm not keeping my spells in foretell exile zone to give this thing +1/+1 or +2/+2. Yeah, some of the payoffs for some of the quote-unquote archetypes of this set are a little bit weak. But yeah, anyways, saw it coming, I think, is 6th through 8th pick. I think it's fine. But yeah. Up next is Strategic Planning. Strategic Planning is 1 and a blue for a sorcery at common. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Strategic Planning is a bad version of Anticipate. It is not instant speed. You bin the other 2 cards, which could be an upside if you're playing like blue-black or something. Ultimately, Strategic Planning is a very wheel card. You should be able to pick this up 9th through 15th pick without any problem, and you're not really looking to put this into your deck too much. I don't tend to mind playing 1 if I'm like, you know, some sort of deck that's desperately looking to claw through my deck in some way, looking to cast spells, etc., but you're not otherwise super stoked on this. Up next is Undersea Invader. Is this our last card? This is our last blue card. Undersea Invader is 4 blue for a creature giant rogue at common. It's a 5/6 with flash. Undersea Invader enters the battlefield tapped. So you can surprise your opponent with a creature that can't block. This card's not awful. It's not like unplayably awful. I'm not going to give it an F because you are going to need some giants in your giant deck. And even if you are in a controlling tempo-y deck, the reason it has flash is you keep up your mana to cast your counterspell. You keep up your mana to cast your Run Ashore. You keep up your mana to cast your 5 mana draw 3 spell. Although that's not a good example. You keep up your mana to do something to your opponent. And then you don't need to. And then you go, oh, well, I guess having a 5/6 next turn is fine. And you cast this. It's not great. This is on the wheel at best. But I think there are some controlling decks that are going to plan to keep their mana up on their opponent's turn. And when they don't need to use anything else, they get to cast this and have a real big thing on the battlefield. It's not a good card. Don't play more than 1. And in some decks, in a number of decks, don't even play 1. But you can pick this up on the wheel, so it's a wheel. So that's going to wrap it up for blue. Thanks for watching YouTube. I will be back for black, red, green shortly as we take a break here on Twitch. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all those good things, and I'll see you all in the next video.